Downtown Fairmont in beautiful Marion County in support of the Freedom to Vote Act. We are currently on a 300-mile cross-state road trip that started this morning in Charleston. Is stopping here in Fairmont. We're going to make a stop in Morgantown, and then we're headed all the way over to the Eastern Panhandle so that we can have a rally in Charlestown at 5:30 tonight. And it's all in support of the Freedom to Vote Act, which is going to be voted on tonight in the U.S. Senate. And we're excited that Senator Manchin has put together this bill, this compromise bill, and is working to get those votes. And we just want to say how important it is that it passed now and it passed no matter what. We're excited to have several folks here joining us today that would like to give some words. And I'm going to bring up the Honorable Delegate Joey Garcia, Marion County's delegate, to share his thoughts on the Freedom to Vote Act.
Thank you, Ryan. My name is Joey Garcia. I represent the 50th District here in Marion County in the West Virginia House of Delegates. And I'm honored to be here with the people that are around us who are going across the state because of this important issue, because of voting rights, which is the fundamental issue we need for any other policy that's going to be passed in the U.S. Congress or in state legislatures. I've just spent the last week and a half in the city of Charleston at the Capitol fighting the most awful partisan sausage making there is. It's called redistricting. And it is like a gut punch when you see what can happen if there are not independent committees that are looking at redistricting. And that's just one part of the bill that we're talking about that Senator Manchin has been putting together, that he's been working across party lines to try to get a vote, to try to get it passed. The Voting Rights Act here that we're talking about, it does the same things that we can already do in West Virginia in many regards. Some of the things that we've come so accustomed to, such as early voting, protecting early voting, 15 days, weekends, 2 weekends at least, having automatic voter registration, having a fair form of voter identification. And one thing that I wanted to tell everybody here today or make clear is that even though we've had these rights in the state of West Virginia for the past 20 or so years, many of these bills, these were pushed by Secretary of State Natalie. These were pushed by former Governor and Secretary of State Joe Manchin. These are not guaranteed. Last year we had a bill. It was Senate Bill 585. And it made it through the Senate and it made it to the House Judiciary Committee. But this would have eliminated the last 3 days of early voting, including the last Saturday. This would have gutted automatic voter registration. This would have provided for a purge of people from the voting rolls. If you failed to vote in one election in 2 years, this is wrong. And there's a reason why they didn't go through with it last year. It's so they didn't have another talking point against this bill that resonated with the people of West Virginia. And so here today, I just want to thank Senator Manchin for pushing for this bill, for reaching across the aisle, for trying to work in good faith. And at the end of the day, this bill has to pass for the people of West Virginia, for the people of this country. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Delegate. I'm honored to bring up Stephanie Tamana, who is a Marion County mother and educator, to share her thoughts on this. She's also a Working Families Party member.
I'm not really sure how to go after Delegate Garcia. The basic pillar of democracy is a free and fair election. This bill is going to standardize election policies across the country so that all Americans, not just West Virginians, have a free access and standard access to a free and fair election. We're going to have standardized early voting, standardized registration. We're going to have standardized counting of ballots so that our ballots, we can guarantee our service member ballots are counted. Thousands of military, which is near and dear to my heart, ballots go unvoted every year because they come in after Election Day, even though they've been mailed from overseas before Election Day. We're going to have dark money is going to, for the first time, be brought into the light. Any donations over $10,000 have to be accounted for. This way we can guarantee that our elected officials are serving our people, our voters, and not their pocketbooks. We need to have accessibility for the disabled. A lot of states aren't like West Virginia. They're not going to make sure that all people with disabilities have equal access to voting. We're going to prohibit misleading information, which as a mother trying to teach your child just the ins and outs of life, we have enough instantaneous access to misleading information. We don't need more. It's going to, I don't know how to, I just feel like I'm reiterating everything that's already been said. This bill has to pass for the future of democracy as we see it in our country.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next up, we've got Marion County's own former Secretary of State, Natalie Tennant.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Marion County. This is not my hometown. Anybody ever been to Fairview? Stephanie might be the only one. Oh, you've been through there. Well, I'm not even from Fairview. I'm from a farm up the hollow at Ann's Run. I know none of you have been up Ann's Run. You haven't been up there. Well, anyway, people like me, people like my family is who will help, I mean, all of West Virginia, all of the country, but especially the rural voters of West Virginia, the rural voters of this country. It is so important. Delegate Garcia talked about some of the positives that we've had in the state. Well, let me tell you, we had a positive 2020 election when it came to mail-in ballots, didn't we? Didn't the state embrace it with more than 224,000 people saying, yes, we want to be able to have no excuse mail-in absentee ballots? They said yes. And guess what this legislature said? Not Delegate Garcia, but the majority. They said no. Yeah, it worked really well in 2020, but we're not going to make it happen now in West Virginia. The Freedom to Vote Act makes it happen. The standards that Stephanie's talking about and that these speakers will talk about are just, can we not have standards? Can we not have standards that help out across the board, that will help people who can easily walk down the street, but also help farm people who can't get a ride down to the polling place that might be 3 miles away? That's what the Freedom to Vote Act will do. That's just one of the important things that will specifically help rural West Virginia. And I want to say, I love this, that Senator Manchin's office is right across there. And if you go into this door and turn right, you're going to get to the county clerk's office. So when Senator Manchin said no to For the People Act, we said, okay. And his leadership said, okay, Senator, what do you want? And he said, well, I'll work with people. We've heard him say that. I'll bring people together. I'll work with people. And he did. And he worked with other senators. And that's why we now have the Freedom to Vote Act, Joe Manchin's signature piece of legislation. He listened to county clerks. He listened to secretaries of state. He listened to advocates and rural West Virginians. And that's how he came up with this and why it is so important. And he added more important things. He loves early voting. He loves the no excuse absentee voting because it's in the Freedom to Vote bill also. But let me tell you what he went above and beyond and did, just as he did when he was Secretary of State and went above and beyond the Help America Vote Act. What he did is he put in place a way to protect our poll workers who are our friends and family. I'm sure, Stephanie, you've probably been a poll worker before, but it adds the extra protection that poll workers face because of the 2020 election, the threats and the intimidation that came about because of that. But here's what's so important, because we've got to stop this mindset that is coming. I have election officials who say that 2020 was only practice. Now, what do they mean by that? 2020 was only practice because what the subversion and the sabotage on that election was only practice for what will take place in 2022 and 2024 if we don't get it stopped now with the Freedom to Vote Act. Because when people say, oh, I didn't win, well, we're going to sabotage it. We had to stop the steal rally in West Virginia, folks. Don't forget that, down at the state capitol, led by our current Secretary of State, who tried to sabotage the election by saying stop the steal, by saying go forward with lawsuits that are going to try to overturn the election. That's what the Freedom to Vote Act will do. And that is why we are so urgent and why we are here and why we're supporting Senator Manchin to say, get it done. Bring it home, Joe, right? Bring it home. This is his signature bill. This is his legacy. And we are here to support that because ultimately it's not about him. It's about somebody who lives up a hollow. It's about a 93-year-old dad who can't get a ride to the polling place. So he needs a no excuse absentee ballot. And maybe his daughter needs a no excuse absentee ballot also. So that's why we're here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the story of West Virginia. There are so many other things that are important in this bill, and we'll continue to talk about it. And we'll be there till the very end, at the very end of the state. That's where we're going, to the Eastern Panhandle. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Secretary. And finally, I want to bring up the Working Families Party organizer, Thaddeus Breckenridge.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Hey, now when I say grass, I'm gonna need y'all to say groups, all right? Grass? Roots. Grass? Roots. Because whenever we're talking about where the soil, when we talk about the grassroots, anything that falls from the top of the tree is rotted. Joe Manchin took an opportunity to come back to the grassroots. They gave such a plentiful fruit in his basket. They gave us such plentiful fruit for our families when we come back home. He decided to come back to the grassroots that have been feeding him and sprouting and have been nourishing his soil to realize that when it comes from the grassroots, it's actually something right. It's actually something pure. It's nothing rotted from the top that's been recreated and been dropped down to us for us to accept, but something that has been cultivated and innovated and breeded by us. This legacy that we are living right now, my ancestors worked long and hard. Our ancestors worked long and hard. The blueprint that started in the turmoil of chattel slavery, foundational Black American families, then went to working families. And now it has tried to shift to everybody in Appalachia, every Appalachian that walks around here. Now is the time. Now is the time to show that for right now, the next 10 years, everything that everybody can fear, we will turn into hope. Everything that seems that it is rotted, we will turn into purity. And everything that seems like it is denying our access, we will open the floodgates of freedom to allow us to flow in to where they can't stop and hold us back. And where our choices and the power of empowering each other will then choose the people in office, like the local legislators that we have surrounding us right now. Not the dark money that puts them in. The actual pennies that we rub together and invest in the assets of our community to become prime golden pieces and writers of legislation that defend working families and everybody in America. Thank you, Joe Manchin. Keep on pushing the toll.
Amen. Thank you, Thaddeus. So we are going to turn the mic on. We are headed back to the interstate, headed up to Morgantown right now. We'll be in Morgantown at 1 o'clock and, well, 1:15. And then we'll be heading across to Charlestown tonight. Thank you all for coming out. If you want to, you can text FREEVOTE to 30403. And you can send Joe Manchin your support saying, get this thing passed right now.